台湾科技产业面临最大的窘境，可以说是接班的状况。像是宏碁创办人施振荣，他70岁又回锅，还有台积电董事长张忠谋、鸿海郭董也都持续的坚守岗位。实在是高科技产业的变化太快，因此这个德国的老牌科技厂默克，它能够成功承传了11代。一块来看看他们的诀窍到底在哪里。
我手上的白色粉末和透明的胶状物，就是制造面板关键材料液晶的主要材料。而我们今天就为您专访到了全球最大面板材料和化学制药的厂商德国默克。这间企业已经成立超过300年，经历过了2次世界大战和5次的金融危机，如今已经成功的传承到第11代的掌门人。到底他们是怎么办到成功的接班呢？我们今天非常荣幸邀请到了默克家族董事会代表 Stankenberg Haverkamp 来接受我们的专访。Hello, nice to meet you, Frank.
Hello, I'm very pleased to be here.
Merck started as a family-owned business, but later you let a non-family member get into the top management like CEO, and has been operated successfully since 1920. We are curious about that. What's the key point that made Merck success?
Yeah, we're actually operating now for 346 years, so a very long time. And in 1920, so some roughly 100 years ago, the then family members decided to get outside talent on top of the company, because no family can produce top management generation by generation. That was realized by my ancestors quite early. So apart from family members, there have been then always quite a number of non-family members in top positions. But the key is you have to empower them. You only will get good quality people if you really give them the same power as managers from the family and from the owners have. That's one of the keys for our success.
And we know that you have a unique governance system, which called personal unlimited liability. What does it mean, and what does it contribute to the Merck success?
It's a very, very strong measurement, because it really means that every one of our top 5 managers, as well as the 2 family members involved in the business, are unlimited liable for the company. So that means if the company, for example, would go bankrupt, also I personally will go bankrupt, because the bailiffs, the courts will come and confiscate everything I personally have. That makes sure, or we are making sure with the system, that the decision taken by our top management are very careful decisions. We will not jeopardize the family fortune or the family company. And we have seen examples in the past. If you look at Lehman Brothers, for example, the big American bank, if those directors involved would all have been personally liable, the bank would not have been gone bust, not have gone bankrupt, because it's always much easier to lose other people's money than your own money. So it's a safeguard, basically, that the decisions are taken in a well-balanced way, not to jeopardize the future of the company.
How does Merck to balance the interests and the risks between the family members, the top managers, and the shareholders?
Yes, it is always a fine balance. We're absolutely right, because we are 70% owned by the family, 70% of our equity, and 30% by outside shareholders. And of course, the spheres of interest are different. Outside shareholders, they want dividend, and the family, we want to ensure that the business will continue for a long time. We see ourselves not as investors, but as trustees for the family wealth to pass it on to our children and grandchildren. And so far, it's a fine balance. But on the other hand, of course, it also gives the family a lot of possibility to get a check on the company, because the company is in the public limelight. It is watched by analysts, by banks, by the public, by the media. And we believe it's a perfect system to make sure that both parties, as well we as the family members, as also the outside shareholders, get the best out of it. And don't forget, we also receive the same dividend as the outside shareholders for our part of the business.
We are also curious about that. What was the biggest challenge that Merck ever faced during this transition?
There's not a biggest challenge. There are challenges every year, every day there are challenges. But the main challenge is, of course, to keep up the innovation, because Merck is a highly innovative company. Look at the business we have in Taiwan here. We are in the liquid crystal business, which is a very, very innovative business. To keep up with that all the time, to have the resources provide which you need for R&D work. And of course, the second problem is always management. A company is only as good as its management. That is one of, for example, my key functions, to make sure that we've got the right top management in place, and also to appoint the right younger managers to excel and exceed through the company ranks to be one day our top managers again.
And we are also curious about that. How does Merck to cultivate the next generation?
And one of the key there is, of course, how to bring the next generation close to the business, maybe educate some of the next generation to be the future business leaders within the company. And we started at a very early age, from 15 onwards. We have, if you like, a program of educating our children. There are some 60, 70 children around at that age now, the age between 15 and 35. So we give them lectures, we show them our factories, we educate them on how a balance sheet works, and of course we offer them internships within the group anywhere in the world, which is very popular, as you can imagine. So when they go to university, they can then have an internship in Taiwan, which some took up already, or in mainland China, or in America, or in Japan, wherever they like, and we hope that they learn more about the company. But then, and that's the important thing, they have no right to get employed by the company. They have no right for a job within the company. They will get through an assessment process, which an outside consultant will do for us. And if this assessment process is positive, then this candidate has to look for a job himself, somewhere in German industry or international industry. And so we have now family members working in Moscow or Australia or Germany or England with other companies, in all sort of fields, in the pharma, marketing, in the finance sector, in the law sector. And when they have achieved a certain level in those companies, when they have proven that they are managers out of their own strengths, then they can come back to Merck and join on a top level, but only on a top level. But of course then they are safe towards its peer group, because they have achieved the job out of their own strengths and not because of family protection or nepotism.
What's your advice for the Taiwan's industry, especially for the Taiwan's industry leader?
Yeah, make sure that you get your successors in place early. So train them early, pick them early, and also make sure that you retire in good time and let the next generation run the business, because everybody is replaceable. And I know it's the same with all family companies and with all leaders in business. They sometimes believe that the younger generation is not ready. And I think we have to trust the younger generation, and it's up to the older generation to give the right advice in early stage to make them fit for running the businesses. And normally they will do it then in a good way.
During this transition, that you trust your next generation to take responsibility, but if they make mistake, how did you solve it? Did you ever face this situation?
Every human being makes mistakes, and I personally believe it's better to make a mistake and stand to it and discuss it and try to rectify it than avoiding mistakes, and because then you don't take any decision. And of course we had this situation, we always have that in business and also in private life, and you have to deal with it, and if you approach it positively, I think then you can cope with it. Because you can't avoid it, but you have to have a culture which is prepared to accept mistakes and to learn out of mistakes. And I hope that we have it.
So you think that culture is more important than the structure?
Culture is part of the structure. You need the right structure, the right legal framework, but at the end culture is the spirit behind. And only if you have got the right spirit behind, you will excel in business. And also you have to try to get all people working within the company on board. And that's the ongoing process. I'll give you one example. See, we had this program Fit for 2018, which was not a cost-cutting program. It was a program to raise efficiency within the company for the long term, because we think in generations. We do not think in quarters as some other companies do. For us, the future is important. And of course, there are always also some redundancies involved in all of these programs. But we didn't make anybody redundant. We don't do that. We try not to do it, and since the Second World War we never did that. We try to do it in a different way. For example, with voluntary leaver programs, with early retirement, with discussing with people whether they want different jobs in other companies, helping them to find them. So that's what I mean with culture. It's a family culture. We try. It's not easy. We try to maintain within a business for the good of all employees. Because we talk about them always as the big Merck family, 39,000 people around the world.
Thank you, Frank. 默克家族全球独一无二的经营模式，赋权给专业经理人营运公司，而家族成员则是负责监督，让这间德国的企业可以成功的运行超过300年。成功的经验或许也可以成为台湾企业借鉴的范例。